My sister convinced me to sue our brother for stealing from our grandparents after they were diagnosed with Alzheimer's. But then I found out she secretly owed them $500,000 and had destroyed the loan documents to cover it up. Quick background: my parents passed away several years ago in an accident. My mom's parents are the only living grandparents. My sister, brother, and I are their only grandchildren. This is a very long story, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. My grandparents are approaching 90 and both have recently started to be affected by Alzheimer's. My brother has been helping them for several years, especially after our parents died. My grandparents have always been very active, very healthy, very independent people, and I thought it was ridiculous that my brother would bring them meals, shovel their walkway, mow the lawn, help them to doctor's appointments, etc. Because they were perfectly able to handle that themselves. Earlier this year my grandparents were diagnosed with Alzheimer's. My brother was given medical and durable power of attorney, which was apparently how my grandparents set up their living trust. A few months after the diagnosis my brother moved them into an assisted living home. My sister did some research and was getting very worried about everything. She explained that our brother now owned all of my grandparents' real estate properties and all their bank accounts and stocks and whatnot, and that our grandparents were now powerless. That our brother controlled everything. I was really upset and worried, especially when my brother started renting one of the real estate properties out. So my sister and I decided to try to contest things. She found a lawyer who came out to my grandparents' assisted living and met with them. We talked to him about how my brother was taking advantage of my grandparents and how he'd gotten them to sign over everything to him, etc. That lawyer called my sister back a few days later and said he wasn't going to represent us because there was no case. So my sister found a different lawyer and things are now in probate court. She has way more knowledge about this whole thing, so she's taken the lead on it. The new lawyer filed complaints with the probate court that my brother had taken advantage of my grandparents by fostering dependence when he was bringing them meals, doing yard work, and taking them to the doctor when they were able to do it themselves, and therefore putting himself in position to be put in charge of their money. My grandparents' money/assets are being misused and are stolen. My brother is renting out the house at below market rates. He's trying to isolate my grandparents by taking control of all their affairs and moving them into a home. We are asking the court to remove my brother as power of attorney and as trustee of the living trust. Now, here's my dilemma: the probate court ordered my brother to submit an accounting of my grandparents' finances, and he did. Our lawyer got a copy of it last week and said that everything is not only in order, but that my brother had improved some investments to bring in more money to the trust. Our lawyer also spent a little time going over some of the information in the trust. My grandparents updated their trust when my parents died to make my brother the first person in line to take over their affairs on incapacity or death. When my grandparents pass, all of their assets are to be divided equally among my brother, my sister and me, except any outstanding loans any of us still have with them would be deducted from that person's share. He said there's also a no contest clause in the trust, but that he needed to do more research on what that means. He said that there's no way the court will make any changes based on the accounting because it's, as he said, immaculate. However, if we have more information about my brother mistreating/isolating my grandparents, that we'll fight on that. Today my sister is telling me that she believes my brother has falsified the accounting that was done and that she's going to have proof of it, and that will get my brother removed. She also plans to have the part in the trust removed about the outstanding loans being deducted and get legal guardianship over my grandparents. I'm starting to have second thoughts and I'm not sure what to do here. If my brother falsified the accounting, what happens? If my sister comes up with proof, but I have a nagging suspicion that she's going to make something up and gives it to the court, can I get in trouble for being on her side? Edit: my sister is so smooth-talking, so damn smooth-talking. I talked to her without saying anything about this post. She didn't give me any specifics about what kind of proof she can get or what exactly she thinks our brother is doing to screw over the finances or hurt our grandparents, but she talks in such a convincing manner that I was about ready to discount everything posted here. I asked her how she thought we should manage my grandparents' care after my brother was removed, and she said she thought we should move them back to their house and hire a cleaning lady off Craigslist to come out once a week so Grammy didn't have to worry about cleaning. Then I sucked it up and called my brother. He couldn't talk much since he needed to get his kids in bed soon, and he wasn't very friendly, which I think I deserve. I told him that I think I was being lied to and that our sister was acting shady. He agreed to answer my questions. I asked him why he'd moved them to such an expensive assisted living, and I guess some months back Grammy left a pot on the stove and left to go shopping. My brother stopped by while she was out and found the pot on the lit burner billowing smoke, burnt and ruined, and Grandpa was watching TV totally unaware of the smoke. And Gramps had taken the batteries out of the smoke detector last time Grammy burnt something, so the fucking house could have burnt down. He moved them out right after that. And whoever said my sister owes our grandparents a lot of money was right, according to my brother. Just over $500,000. I feel sick. But it's worse than that even. Okay, so Grandpa kept really thorough financial files and he had signed loan agreements with whoever owed money and he kept everything in a file cabinet. Yes, I also owe them some money for a car, but it's down to $4,000 and I've made every monthly payment. So after my brother got my grandparents moved into assisted living, he went to gather all the financial documents so he could get everything in order, and he found that all the loan agreements my sister had signed were missing from her file. He suspects she took them so there'd be no record of what she owes. Apparently Grandpa kept photocopies of the important stuff including loan agreements and a payment ledger book in a fire safe as backup, so my brother has proof of what everyone owes. I feel sick, I don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. I'm going to call the lawyer tomorrow and find out how to get removed from this mess. Update 1. First, I'd like to thank everyone here for your input, suggestions, and the harsh words that it turns out I needed last fall. A few people commented that I sounded young, and that's pretty true. My brother and sister are much older than me and my parents had me later in life. Mom used to say I was her favorite surprise. Smile. So, yeah, I'm just getting started in college and don't have much real-world experience, which isn't an excuse for how I acted, but it is what it is and I'm trying to be better. I took a humanities class that covers aging this semester because of this whole situation with my grandparents, and I learned so much. I really enjoyed it too. I'm thinking about changing my major so I can go into a field that helps protect the elderly, like maybe social work. So, I told our lawyer back in November that I wanted nothing to do with court case anymore and gave him a general outline of why I'd come to believe that my sister wasn't being totally honest. He filed stuff to show I was withdrawing my name from the case, and then he fired my sister as a client. She dismissed? I think this is the right term. Her case, since she no longer had a lawyer, and after some soul searching and a couple visits with a counselor at school, I told her not to contact me again and blocked her. My brother was willing to forgive me for some reason. I'm grateful for it, but I was a real jackass until I posted here about my grandparents' situation. He keeps me in the loop, which is how I know how the last almost 5 months have played out. My brother's attorney for the trust started getting emails from my sister's new lawyer. This would be the third one she's used about her complaints over my grandparents' estate, later in the fall. She was claiming to lawyer number 3 that my brother was hiding bank accounts / money, that he was letting the trust's real estate properties go to junk and not taking care of them, that he didn't have insurance on the properties, he was letting people live there for free, and a bunch of other stuff that I could see was completely not true. She also started telling my grandparents these lies, which upset them, and, being confused, they believed her for a bit and were just awful to my brother and me. Lawyer number 3 was sending demanding emails to my brother's lawyer for him to show proof that the houses are in good shape, insured, not being misused, on and on and on. After a couple months of this, my brother's lawyer got an email directly from my sister where she listed demands such as my brother must let her take inventory of all my grandparents' possessions and take some keepsakes for herself, that any renters had to be evicted immediately, that he had to put all the real estate up for sale within 30 days, and other things that my brother's lawyer explained that he absolutely did not have to do, and if these things didn't happen within 30 days she would be forced to pursue further legal action. And she CC'd her lawyer on this email. Well, my brother's lawyer got a call that same day from lawyer number 3 saying he had nothing to do with that email and wasn't consulted. That was the last we heard anything from lawyer number 3, and all was quiet for a few months. And that brings me to the current situation. My brother's lawyer recently forwarded him copies of emails with, drumroll please, my sister's new lawyer, lawyer number 4. This lawyer is from a firm that does local ads like got a DUI? Charged with a crime? We can help. I don't know why they're taking on a probate situation, but it looks like they are. And, really, it's the same stupid claim she made with lawyer number 3, and my brother's lawyer has already gone over with him exactly what he's supposed to be doing as the trustee, so he knows he doesn't have to do any of the stuff she's saying. It's just, this is getting very hard on my brother. He's just so tired of it all. What I want to know is, I guess, not so much about what legal steps he should be taking, because his lawyer has that covered, but maybe some advice from you guys since you've been dealing with all types of people in court. Why is she doing this? I mean, she apparently wants to be the trustee, but my brother's lawyer said that probate court would never give it to her since my brother has shown that he's managing everything exactly right. So why does she continue? Is there anything we can do to get her to stop? My brother's lawyer said he's seen people act like this for years, but he didn't have any advice on anything we could do to get her to back off since she isn't breaking any laws. I would appreciate any advice or suggestions anyone has. Comments where OP has replied. Comment 1, that's great OP that you're on the side of your stand-up brother. I appreciate your candor / honesty about your own actions as well. Depending on how much of a nuisance/cost your sister's actions are to your brother, he may be able to file a lawsuit against her for the time and financial cost she's cost him and his lawyer in frivolous legal actions. This course is time-consuming and costly unto itself. He sounds like he's already incredibly busy, father with young kids and overseeing your grandparents' health. Have you tried approaching your sister to ask her to stop? It's the least you could do seeing as what your brother has done for your grandparents and the grace he's shown you. He may be able to file a lawsuit against her for the time and financial cost she's cost him and his lawyer in frivolous legal actions. Well, my brother's lawyer is the lawyer for the trust and is paid from the trust, so it isn't costing my brother any money directly, just time in dealing with all this crap. Can the trust sue if he wanted to go that route? Have you tried approaching your sister to ask her to stop? I did try that a few months ago and got a lovely "go EFF yourself" as a response. Skeptical comment 2. Yes, your brother as the trustee can sue her for lost time and legal fees if he can clearly prove her actions have been frivolous. Alright. I know the last thing he wants to do is to cost the trust any more money, so he probably won't want to go that route, but I'll bring it up as an option. Thank you. Update 2. So, right near 5 years have passed since my update on my sister doing her best to manipulate her way into getting her hands on our substantial assets. This is the final update because both grandparents have passed, and my brother filed the final tax return for the trust last month, which was the last thing needed to settle it. Here's what happened. Gramps suffered a stroke several months after my last update. Because it happened at an assisted living facility just down the street from a major hospital, he was able to initially survive. My brother felt it was only right to inform our sister. I didn't agree. She took his call, thanked him for calling, and never came to the hospital. My brother and I sat in the ICU in shifts for days with Gramps. Gramps held on for several months, was even able to return to live with his wife, but he was obviously not the same and pneumonia took him in the end. His death pretty much sent Grammy over the edge. Her Alzheimer's progressed quickly after she lost Gramps and needed to be moved to the memory unit. Grammy held on for years. Pneumonia took her the summer before the pandemic. My sister never visited our grandparents after my update. She didn't give up on her quest to be a terrible person, though. Lawyer number 4 lasted over 3 years. They settled into a rhythm of sending frequent demand emails to the trust's lawyer for copies of checks, proof that estate properties were insured, trust bank records, anything they were technically entitled to review due to my sister being a beneficiary. Anytime a property had a necessary repair, i.e. plumbing issue causing sewage to leak in a house, my sister would have her lawyer demand copies of everything, insist on getting multiple quotes for time-sensitive work, anything to drag the process out. Every year when my brother would submit the trust accounting, weeks of work would follow due to her demanding clarification on every medical bill or questioning why Grammy needed $100 worth of clothing from Target or whatever random tidbit she'd latch onto, all one at a time, dragging everything out. She also discovered that she could file complaints in probate court. The judge would send the complaints to mediation. My brother wouldn't agree to anything in mediation, and my sister would have her lawyer withdraw the filing. This happened multiple times. The trust's legal costs were staggering as a result of all of this. When Grammy passed, the trust's law firm submitted an equitable distribution proposal to my sister's lawyer, including her outstanding debts, which she never attempted to repay to the trust, and which she continued to deny in spite of the documentation my brother had. My brother even offered to reduce the amount she owed if she wanted to take one of the real estate properties she'd previously expressed interest in so he wouldn't have to deal with selling it. She refused the proposal if any of her debts were included. There was some back and forth for a couple months, then she went quiet for a bit. Then came lawyer number 5. The trust's lawyer assumed, probably correctly, that lawyer number 4 realized his easy payday of sending nasty emails and filing motions that would go nowhere was over and stopped representing her. So she got a new guy, and my brother had to start the whole process over. This new lawyer came to the table with only my sister's version of the story, including some new embellishments about my brother hiding my grandparents from her, and never knowing where they were, their health status, if they were even alive. The new lawyer really latched onto that part. The trust's lawyer had told my brother early on to shoot them an email with any updates or changes to my grandparents' status/location, such as hospitalizations or ER trips or transfers to different assisted living accommodations, and he always did so. The lawyer who took the lead on the handling the trust said it was hilariously satisfying to provide copies of my brother's emails to her and her subsequent emails to whichever lawyer my sister was on with said updates to lawyer number 5. He suddenly had a more pleasant demeanor. This is already long, so I'll simplify the next several months, late 2019 to early 2020. Sister at first refused distribution proposal. Trust's lawyer simply submitted the proposal to probate court for them to approve. Sister was suddenly fine with accepting the proposal. She asked for cash distribution less her debts, no property in kind. Brother takes the rental property in kind, asks if I had interest in the vacation property our sister had previously wanted but no longer did. I have good memories there, decide to accept the offer so I can visit the property and so my brother can still use it. Everyone signs the distribution agreements, papers are filed in court, and it's done. My brother sells the remaining real estate property, a townhome my grandparents lived in before entering assisted living, and cuts checks for the cash distribution. And, we haven't heard a word from our sister since, not in any form. She deposited her check immediately and that was that. It's so anticlimactic after all the hassle she caused over the last 5 years. The only thing she accomplished with these years of greed was to cost the trust something like $600,000 in legal and related fees. That's money that would have been split among the three of us. She cost herself over $200,000 for nothing. She didn't even take the vacation property she had claimed to want so badly. Despite everything, my brother offered it to her first because it apparently held so much sentimental value. Apparently once she saw the appraisal on it from 2019, it wasn't that sentimental to her. It appraised at $90,000. It's not some fancy resort property or something, just a small vacation home in a pretty area. I guess it's a happy enough resolution, all things considered. I was able to pay off my small amount of student debt from undergrad and I'll be able to pay for grad school. I elected to take a year off to work in a non-profit and then, pandemic, with a little nest egg. I have a cute vacation house that's now suddenly worth a whole lot more, but I'm not counting on its valuation staying where it is. My brother and I just use it for its intended purpose. My brother elected to take the rental property as part of his share and after all the crap he's had to deal with he definitely deserves the rental income. I helped him where I could in all this mess, and I attended the mediation meetings with him to speak on behalf of the trust, but he did the hard work. My brother and I are cool. We're friends, even. He forgave me for being an utter ass all those years ago and I get to be the cool uncle now. I'm not even sure if any of the same posters are still active in this sub, but if you were around then, thanks for the brutal honesty and for explaining what was going on before I made any terrible mistakes.